Well, Bob cannot be close to Jack. Bob is a lot worse. Hey, my name is Tom Haak of the HR Trend Institute, and today is a new episode in the series, the sub-series HR Bad Practices. I have a client and I regularly give sessions in their HR training, and they called me some weeks ago and said, Tom, please, if you perform the next time, will you not bash on the 9 grid? Because we have just introduced the 9 grid and then you come in our course and say, well, get rid of the 9 grid. Can you not do that? And of course, I respect my client and I won't bash on the 9 grid in that session. But this is a video, so time for some bashing. In my working life, which is super long, I have spent probably days, if not weeks, on talent management processes. And well, in those days, and hopefully it has changed, but the talent management processes were super slow. And there was an annual cycle, and there came Tom, the whatever management development officer, I think it was called. The management development officer Tom came to the manager, the senior manager, to discuss his talent or her talent. And I would sit down and say, okay, well, who are your talent? And I have a little tool that is the 9 grid. And if you watch this video, you will probably know the 9 grid, but it's basically a grid with 2 axes. One is performance and the other is potential. And well, you divide the box in 9 boxes, therefore the title, the 9 box. And of course, you are looking for people who are in box 3.3, and that is high performance and high potential. And well, in box 1.1 is people with low performance and low potential. Generally, to be honest, that box is empty. So I said to the manager, hey, here's a box and let's plot your people in that box. And we did that for a while. Of course, there was a discussion, what is potential, what is performance, but I was skilled enough to answer those questions. So I went to all the managers, which took already quite a long time. And then we had the calibration session, the highlight of my annual life, you would say, the highlight in the year for me, because there were all the managers and the top boss was there as well, and we would calibrate, as it was called. It was more negotiate, but it was called calibrate, and there were all the 9 boxes, and I had made summaries, and we would say, hey, there is Jack or Carla, where are they in the 9 box? And all the people were there, and we were calibrating, because they say, well, if Jack is there, well, Bob cannot be close to Jack. Bob is a lot worse. So we manipulated all the people, and in the end, there was the final 9 grid with maybe 100 or 90 or 50 potentials and low potentials. And then, well, we had to take next steps. Often there was not enough time for the next step because we were reaching the end of the year and we had to go into a new cycle. There are many disadvantages of the 9 grid, and that's why I put it in this episode of Bad HR Bad Practice. And I will just mention a few. Of course, number 1, it's a very much generally used in top-down processes. The subjects on the grid, well, we don't discuss with them, we discuss about them. So it's top-down, and we discuss about the people. Second, it's always generally very subjective, because how do we measure potential? Even how do we measure performance? That seems easy, but for many positions it's not so easy. So it's super subjective, and that leads to disadvantage number 3, generally speaking, the usual suspects flourish in this process. The usual suspects are the people who behave a little bit like the bosses, who are clever enough to be there when the boss is there. They are clever enough to make good impressions, and then when there is a discussion, the boss says, "Hey, but where's Jacqueline? Oh, Jacqueline, she's so good and she's so fluent and she's so good with clients, etc., etc." So super subjective process, very boss oriented, and that leads to number 4 of the disadvantages. It creates a lack of diversity, or it reinforces a lack of diversity, because the usual suspects are there and there's no room for people who are a little bit outside that mold. Of course, I'm sure there are many organizations that apply the 9 grid in a more clever way. I would like to hear about those organizations, but for me, this is clearly an example of a tool where HR thinks, oh, we are so glad we have a tool. It's misused and it doesn't lead to the required outcomes, also because those talent management processes are super, super slow. And these days we need to have instant response and not slow responses. This was my episode on Get Rid of the 9 grid, or HR bad practices. If you want to learn more, good practices, bad practices, connect to the HR Trend Institute. Go to the hrtrendinstitute.com, link to me on LinkedIn, subscribe to this channel, and there will be more videos soon. Take care and success with your life without the 9 grid.